Hello everyone, are you ready for another adventure? It's me, Woki, and I'm back with another Fake Grand Order video. And what are we going to be talking about today? Well, I'm going to be talking about the other two units that were on the Grailfront pre-release pickup summons that I did not get to talk about in the previous video, because one of them is coming up pretty soon, and the other one is 2 days afterwards. So that's going to be today's video. Feel free to let me know if you plan to summon, and if you do plan to summon, I wish you the best of luck, and if you're not summoning, it's probably for the best. Not to get surprised by something and waste Saint Quartz, but considering the characters, I've already seen plenty of people going like, no, I think I'm gonna screw over my plans. But let's talk about them, shall we? So we're gonna start with Artoria Lancer. Like I said, this one is going to be coming out on the 8th, so depending on when you watch this video, she's already out or she's about to be out. Happens at day roll or login, whatever you call it. And then Koyanskaya is 2 days later on the 10th. So let's start with Artoria Lancer, the Lion King. She is a story unlock servant, which is kind of like being a limited servant, but with extra steps. She's a Lancer. She has 2 quick cards, an arts card, and 2 buster cards. 3 hits on the quick, 2 hits on the arts, 1 hit on the buster, and 5 hits on extra. Her active skills, which is Torrent of Light A+, which is after a strengthening, which we already have in the game currently. Torrent of Light A+ increases own buster performance for 1 turn, increases own damage against enemies with the chaotic alignment and the evil alignment for 1 turn. The buster up is 50%, the chaotic damage is 50%, and the evil damage is 50%, and this is on a cooldown of 5. And just to make sure, because she has 2 strengthenings, one that we already have and one that we don't. Yep, this one came in a long time ago. So that means that the second skill is the one that is not in the game just yet. This one will be here on anniversary, I believe, but which anniversary? 2025. So that means it's about a year and a half away. So we should have this in 2027. Oh god, that's a ways away. Anyway, the way it regularly is Charisma B, which is what it's going to be for us for the foreseeable future. It increases party's attack for 3 turns. It gives 18% at level 10, and this is on a cooldown of 5. The much better version, which is Wild Hunt B+, increases party's attack for 3 turns, increases party's NP damage for 3 turns, and then increases the NP damage of the Round Table Knight allies for 3 turns, 20% to attack, 20% to NP damage, and 30% to Round Table Knight NP damage on a cooldown of 5. Her third skill is Protection of the World EX, charges your NP gauge and then removes your debuffs, 50% to NP on a cooldown of 6, and her passive skills are Magic Resistance B and Writing A. Her third append skill is an anti-ruler attack damage aptitude, because trust no one, not even yourself, in a summer outfit. And her noble phantasm is Rangominiad, and if you're wondering why I can say that, it's because it's a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Shoutouts to Rangominiad. No actual shoutouts to that card. Fuck that card. Anyway, the lance that shines to the ends of the world. Rank A++, anti-fortress. It's a buster card. It hits 2 times. Ignores invincibility for 1 turn. This activates first and then deals damage to all enemies. At MP level 1, it's 300%, and if you get her all the way to MP level 5, it's 500%, and then also charges your own MP gauge. 20% at charge level 1, and if you get her all the way to the final charge level, it's 60%. And her Bond CE is the King's Horse, which when it's equipped to her, increases party's attack by 10% and then increases party's NP damage by 10% when she is on the field. And that's Artoria Lancer. How is she? Well, I think she's pretty good. Yeah, the main bummer about her is the fact that this skill is not anytime soon. Like I said, JP got it in 2025, so that means we'd be 2 years. No, not 2 years, because it says March, so that would mean we would get it sometime in about a year and 5 months, a year and 5 months, which is kind of a long ways to wait. And I've talked to people in the past when I've talked about units that were going to be eventually extremely good because of the strengthenings that they get. Their main issue with them is that I don't want a unit that is going to be good in a year and plus change. I want a unit that's going to be good right now and is going to benefit me right now. So in terms of how good is she now, I think she ends up being solid. I think, again, a lot of the niceness that she has comes from this second skill when I think of using her, just because I think it's a pretty substantial buff from what Charisma B was giving. Like, this is a huge upgrade. And I also think it kind of gives a nice little fun way of playing with Round Table Knights, because she's also going to be buffing them if you want to kind of go that way. and giving them a lot of extra stuff. But if you're using her in, I guess now, I think she would probably be okay. She has a little bit of a drawbacks. This skill, for example, gives a lot of damage if you're fighting against something that's chaotic and evil, but it lasts a single turn. Now, when it comes to looping for those kind of purposes, it's not the worst. It just means that you won't have it available for one turn. If you don't know how a loop works, I'll quickly explain it for how it goes with Buster. Buster uses a 2 Koyanskaya method, and that means that the Koyanskayas on themselves have a very special ability that reduces the cooldowns by 2. So that means that you use this on turn 1, you have it, that means you have 5 turns to go. Eventually, when you use the double Koyanskaya in her skills to give her 50%, that will drag down this back to 0 on turn 2. Because on turn 1, it will have 5 turns, turn 2, it will say 4, and then you use the double Koyanskayas, it will be 0. That means that you can then use it on turn 2 or save it for turn 3, depending on which one is giving you more trouble. And I think you can make that work. There are going to be a couple nodes that are going to be a little bit tough, and some of the harder ones, I think, just because very rarely it would ever come up that you're like, well, when am I going to need this power for all 3 nodes? And the answer is on the very hard grind quest, but I think it's probably a way to work around it if the unit is good enough or so, or if the enemy has a, like, for example, 1 enemy on turn 1, 3 enemies on turn 2, and then 1 on turn 3. That's a little bit more manageable because the HP on the ones on the second turn shouldn't be as bad as if there was all 1, 1, 1, 1. But you can see a lot of variance in that case, where she would be needing just a little bit of extra damage. I think this third skill is also pretty nice. I guess the other thing that's also kind of a negative is that this Koyanskaya method is for looping, but if you were trying to use her in a challenge quest, it can be a little bit of an annoying thing, knowing that you basically have 1 turn to do your big burst damage, and then you just kind of have to wait. Even with using 2 Koyanskayas or something, I typically would prefer going in with Merlin, so you wouldn't be doing it, but there's also plenty of cases where you can go double Koyanskaya and just kind of ignore everything if you want to play it that way. But yeah, something to keep in mind of for it. And then the third skill is very good. Removing your own debuffs is very nice, and in terms of looping, 50% on an MP charge, can't go wrong with that. So yeah, overall, I think she's pretty good to okay right now, and then eventually she becomes really good, because the second skill I really like, but it just kind of depends on if you're okay with the waiting game, and you don't have Melusane, because obviously Melusane is an extremely busted AoE Lancer that is also Buster, so you don't really need her if you're already situated there. But if you're in need of an AoE Lancer for Buster, it's definitely an option. Another thing I want to mention, just because this was a kind of a surprise banner, she does actually come back fairly soon. So if I go here and I go down to 2024, we'll see that her next available banner is actually going to be in Valentine's Day, which is going to be in February for us. So that means her next banner is 4 months away or so. Not bad. So if you're someone who's a little bit more strapped on St. Quartz and you're like, damn it, she showed up early, oh man, I think it's better for you to probably wait and kind of check to see. I guess it kind of depends on whether or not you have something to look forward to summon very soon. Like if you were planning to go for Melusane, Telemeos, or Arjuna Altar, maybe it's better to hold off a little bit and just wait for February, where maybe you don't care about Andromeda as much and you can kind of spare a little bit more St. Quartz for your girl during this time. It all kind of depends on how you want to do. It's an available option to you. I can tell you right now, as someone who has a very specific character that they always like, Quetzalcoatl, anytime a banner of hers surprise ups, I have to avoid the banner. So be very careful and make good decisions is what I'm saying. But I think she ends up being okay for now, and will be really nice and very good when that buff comes in a little bit later. But that is Artoria Lancer. Now let's move on to the other unit, Koyanskaya of Darkness, which I'm laughing because most recently I told someone, I was like, oh, they buffed her, right? And I assumed that they buffed her, but apparently they have not buffed her yet. For some reason in my head, I could have swore I woke up to the news that they buffed Koyanskaya of Darkness, but maybe it's just I hear so much about buffing Koyanskaya of Darkness that I've confused myself into thinking that she's been buffed. But anyway, let's talk about the unit. Limited unit, Koyanskaya of Darkness. She is a foreigner. She has a quick card, 2 arts cards, and 2 buster cards. 4 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, and 3 hits on buster with 5 hits on extra. Her first skill is Dominator Fox A. Increases party's buster performance for 3 turns, charges party's NP gauge, and then reduces the critical star absorption of Hominidae servants? Allies by humans by 100% for 1 turn, 30% to buster, 30% to NP, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Her second skill is Slaughter Beast Troop A. Overcharges 1 ally's NP by 2 stages for 1 time, 3 turns. Grant them a buff on attack buff for 3 turns, gain 5 crit stars for normal attacking with buster cards, and then increases the attack of animal characteristic servants allies for 3 turns, and then increases the defense of them for 3 turns as well. 30% to animal characteristic servants by 30%, and 30% to their defense as well, and this is on a cooldown of 7. Her third skill is the Goddess Metamorphosis Beast B. It ignores invincibility for 3 turns, increases own crinkle damage. I was thinking of Arby's because me and my brother were talking about their brand new steak nuggets and talking about getting the steak nugget burger. I'm losing track of everything. Grants self debuff on attack buff for 3 turns. Inflicts poison, curse, and burn for 3 turns to enemies when attacking. Inflicts toxic, evil, curse, and spread of fire status for 3 turns to all enemies. Increases each element debuff damage on them. The crit damage is 50%. The poison damage is 500. The curse damage and the burn damage is also 500. The poison damage rate, the curse damage rate, and the burn damage rate are all 100%, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Passive skills are Existence Outside of the Domain C, NFF Service EX, which is an increase to own damage against wild beast enemies by 20%, increases own arts performance by 5%, and then increases own debuff success rate by 10%, and then the Nega Self, which is a C rank, grants self debuff on attack buff, 20% chance to inflict bluff block for 1 time, 3 turns to wild beast enemies when attacking. Her third skill is an anti-ruler attack damage aptitude, and her noble phantasm is the Tunguska 9 drive. The thunderous heavenly light, the calamitous star crashes down in waves of flame. Rank C, anti-world, hits 5 times, because of course when you get hit by a meteor, it hits you at least 5 times. Increases own attack by 20% for 1 turn, activates first, deals damage to all enemies, removes all their offensive buffs, reduce their buster resistance by 20% for 3 turns. At MP level 1, it's 300%, and if you get it all the way to MP level 5, it's 500%. Deals extra damage to enemies with the Earth attribute. At charge level 1, it's 150%, and then if you get it all the way to the final charge level, it's 200%. And her Bond C is the Ambitions of Koyanskaya Eurasia Edition. When equipped to her, increases party's buster performance by 10%, and increases the attack of animal characteristic servants by 10% while self is also on the field. And that is Koyanskaya of Darkness. If you're a new player, this is different from Koyanskaya of Light, which is the one that helps you buster loop. This is a different kind of servant. So, how is Koyanskaya of Darkness? You know, it's weird because I've always read Koyanskaya of Darkness as being pretty good. She has a lot of things that I think are very specific, and in such ways, I think it'd be more interesting to use her in different kinds of teams and kind of like trying to think of ways to use the poison, curse damage, and burn damage. Stuff like that, kind of like think about using things like that. In terms of her second skill, it's cool that she's able to buff widely animal characteristic servants and also overcharge her. One of them's NP by 2 stages for a single turn. Able to also get crit stars from using buster cards. I think that's also pretty neat. Her Noble Phantasm has also got some nice utility to it, like removing offensive buffs, which can come in handy in certain challenge quests where all the enemy does is buff insane amounts of offensive buffs to themselves. You can reduce their buster resistance by 20% for 3 turns, which is pretty nice because if you keep hitting them with this Noble Phantasm, you will continue to reduce their buster resistance, which I think is pretty cool. It also increases your attack for a single turn, and if you're fighting someone in the earth, it also brings you a little bit more damage. So when I read her kit, it always sounds to me like she has a lot of interesting stuff going on. But talking to a friend of mine who has had Koyanskaya of Darkness, he's always said to me that when he uses her, it's always fine, but never as good as you think it's going to be. And because I don't own the unit myself, I can only take it from what other people have told me about her. Because obviously in theory you can read what a unit does, but it's different from the play experience that you hear from other players. And I've heard a lot of people just wanting to give her a buff, so maybe there's just something I'm missing. Maybe if I actually had her and got to use her, it wouldn't be as it would be more clear to me. But I'm gonna default on the people who say that she needs a little bit more help, just because they're actually using the unit. So, and I don't know if it's a case of she really does need that little bit of extra damage. I understand she doesn't do as much damage as the other foreigner who is an AoE buster unit, which maybe is making them think she needs to do a little bit more damage, but I feel like she's providing different things to the team. Like, for example, let me just show her off right here, if I can. I don't want to focus too much on it because I was just like, it's not really a fair comparison, but I guess they are both foreigners. I feel like they're both doing different things, so you shouldn't compare them, but they're both AoE busters, so they're going to get comparison regardless. But Cuckoo, for example, is doing a lot of heavy damage, and she has the ability to like buff the party, but I really do feel like most of her stuff is really heavily focused on getting her extremely strong. Like, she has a lot of things that helps the party, but at the end of the day, it's like, you don't need the other members of your party to be doing damage. She's going to be the one doing the damage, where Koyanskaya of Darkness is going to be giving a little bit more party-wide. So as such, because of that difference in them, she's not doing as much damage as Kukula Khan. I don't know. I would be very interested to hear what people feel about her, but I've always thought that she was a pretty good unit that people just wanted to get buffed because I don't think she has enough damage to her, which I think is perfectly fair thing to ask. And given that she's Koyanskaya, plenty of people like her. Plus, of course, there's a very huge person in the community that is also on a dire quest to see his girl get buffed, which you have to respect to a certain extent, that it's impossible to talk about this unit without breaking him up. I hope he gets it. I really do. I really thought that they had already buffed her, but apparently I'm just not paying enough attention on JP as I thought. I thought that was the big thing on, for the anniversary, that they announced a Koyanskaya buff, but maybe I was just wrong. Maybe I was just gaslighting myself saying, no, she got buffed, it's okay. But anyway, that's Koyanskaya of Darkness, and if you're wondering the next banner for her, it's going to be in a terrible time. If you're a fan of her, I would probably say this is your best time to summon for her, because I don't think she gets... I think she's a part of, like, Archetype Inception, like, after summer, post-summer, I believe. Hold up, let me pause and find it. Okay, I found it. She is right after BB Dubai, and so that means she's smack dab of Archetype Inception and also Summer. So, terrible fucking time to be going for Koyanskaya of Darkness. I don't know about you, but I hate it when there's a servant that I want during summer, because most of my Saint Quartz is going towards summer and losing it at summer. I hate when I have to make a decision of saying I have to stop summoning on summer and go for a unit that's like in place of it. I feel the same way for around Anniversary. Like, it's such a rough ass time, especially with this being summer, and then after summer it's BB Dubai, and then before that it's the 9th anniversary. It's just rough all around. I'll be honest with you. So I think that if you have the means to go for her, and you're a big fan of her, and I'm saying this specifically to people who are a big fan of her, I think it's worth going for. If she doesn't sound that interesting to you, or you already have Kukula Khan, I think you're good to probably wait a little bit to a future time where you can go for her again. Like, for example, I don't really see the need for myself as someone who has an MP5 Kukula Khan. That's also why it's very hard for me to judge the damage difference, is that anytime I've ever used Koyanskaya, it's been a friend, and it's been at MP1, and it's just not a fair comparison when you have, like, an MP5 Kukula Khan. No, actually, now that I think about it, I actually have an MP1 Kukula Khan, because I have 6 copies of her, but at this point it sounds like I'm flexing, but I could, in theory, buff her up and see how she stacks side to side, but then I wouldn't be able to use another Koyanskaya. Anyway, it might be a good idea to go for it, is what I'm saying. If you're making a conscious decision saying, I love Koyanskaya of Darkness, I want more copies of my girl, I don't give a fuck about anything else that's coming up, I think it's better to probably summon on her now than trying to get her during summer. But if you're someone who doesn't really care, then you're fine to keep skipping and save for future units. I don't think she's one that you have to go out of your way for. And I probably feel the same way for Artoria Lancer. It's definitely more suited for... This is a really tough banner because all three of these are like fan favorites. So it's like, do I need Skahawk? Do I need Artoria Lancer? Do I need Koyanskaya of Darkness? For me personally, the answer is no. Would I want more copies is a different story. Which is why I'm not looking... I'm going to be avoiding the banner when Artoria Lancer comes out, because I don't need an AoE Lancer for Buster, because I already have Melusine at MP2. But she's so cool that it makes me want to still go for her, and that's really bad when you're trying to save. And the same is true for Koyanskaya. I just like Koyanskaya. And plus her outfits are sick. I like those outfits. Look at this. Big ass hat. Big ass fox ears. Big ass hat and owl. Look at that fucking owl. Worth owning for the owl. There's also a tiger here. I didn't even realize. I didn't even see the tiger and the wolf. There you go. I don't know if that's a tiger. That's a tiger. But anyway, I'm going on for too long. I wish you the best of luck if you decide to summon. Feel free to let me know if you're going to be summoning or how your summons have gone. Some people have already told me some of their Skahawk summons, and they've been saying like, oh yeah, all my savings for Patelameos out the window. But I got her. And then some other people are saying, no, I did not get her. So feel free to let me know if what your plans are and if you're going for them. Or if you're going to continue to be staying strong. I wish you the best of luck in staying strong. And if you have anything to say about the units I talk about and want to disagree, you can feel free to leave something. Like I said, I don't own these two units, so the best I can do is look at what they do and tell you what I think they are, which I think is that they both seem pretty solid to me, with this one being okay, and eventually that buff comes out, and I think that makes them really interesting and good. And then Koyanskaya, to me, has always read good. But if your experience is different, feel free to write it down and let me know. I read all that, believe it or not. I actually do read what everyone has to say, and I take note of it, because I'm like, when I talk about this unit in the future, I need to know a decent amount, just because I don't have them. Because I don't have all the money in the world. If I did have all the money in the world, I wouldn't be living in this apartment. I would be... I would be... That's the end of the video, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you want to show support, you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel a whole bunch. And allows me to get money to afford FGO summons in the future. But I'll be fine. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye-bye.